Why in the F is that security guard all up on Sophie Cunningham? And look, I think there is a reason she got up in Sophie's face, and I don't think there was any need to sort of bow up to Sophie like that.
Why in the world was a WNBA security guard barking at Sophie Cunningham, a player in a leg brace, during the Indiana Fever's biggest playoff win in years? That's the question that exploded across social media, and it tells you everything about the league's bizarre priorities. The Fever had just pulled off a massive postseason victory, the kind of win that should have been all about resilience, grit, and celebration. But instead of headlines praising Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, and the team's effort without Caitlin Clark, the spotlight was hijacked by a scene that looked more like a comedy sketch than a professional playoff moment. Picture this: Sophie Cunningham, sidelined with injury, clapping from the bench. Celebrating with her teammates. Nothing out of the ordinary, no rule breaking, no chaos, just joy. And yet, out of nowhere, a league security officer stormed toward her like she was a pitch invader, leaning in, shouting, making a spectacle. It wasn't just unnecessary, it was insulting. Fans saw it. They reacted instantly. Why Sophie? Why only her? Caitlin Clark and Chloe Babby were right beside her at midcourt, smiling and clapping, yet they weren't confronted. Only Sophie was singled out, and that turned what should have been a Fever celebration into yet another controversy for a league that can't seem to get out of its own way.
Odyssey Sims hit the floor very hard during the game last night, and her teammates came out to the floor to check on her, except, of course, the girls on the bench, Caitlin Clark, Chloe Bibby, Sophie Cunningham, they came to half court. Did not cross the line, by the way. But for whatever reason, we had a situation involving Paula Blart, Mall Cop, that's right, played this time in the role by Wheezy from Jefferson, the Jeffersons. Showed up last night to try to check Sophie Cunningham. Did she think Sophie Cunningham was about to run out there and cause an incident? Sophie Cunningham's in a damn leg contraption. It's not even a brace, it's like a contraption.
And here's the kicker. This wasn't just about one confrontation. It was about optics, about double standards, and about a player who's been painted as a villain since the day she entered the league. So let's break this down. Why did this happen, and what does it really say about the WNBA? Stay tuned, because this story only gets uglier. Before we dive deeper, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the full breakdown. The Indiana Fever's playoff win should have been the headline. No Caitlin Clark, no problem. The Fever gutted out one of their biggest victories in years, and the arena was electric. This was supposed to be about basketball, about grit, about a team proving they weren't just a one-player show. But like clockwork, the WNBA found a way to let controversy overshadow the moment. Here's the scene. Late in the game, Odyssey Sims takes a brutal fall, clutching her shoulder. Teammates rush to half court to check on her. On the bench, and fans noticed. Right away, the conversation shifted from the Fever's win to Sophie being treated like a criminal. Why was Sophie singled out? Why was a player in a leg contraption suddenly considered a danger? The optics were bad, but for Sophie, they were familiar. This wasn't the first time she's been painted as a villain. It's practically become her brand in the league, whether she wants it or not. And that's the drama here. A league desperate for growth can't get out of its own way. Instead of celebrating, the WNBA once again made itself the story. Let's strip this down to the facts because the clip doesn't lie. Fact 1. The Fever won a massive playoff game. The energy was off the charts and emotions were running high. Fact 2. Sophie Cunningham was on the bench, in a visible leg brace, cheering for her teammates. Not sprinting, not storming the court, just clapping in celebration. Fact 3. Multiple Fever players, Caitlin Clark and Chloe Bibby included, stood right alongside her at mid-court. They did the same thing Sophie did. Yet when a league security guard made her move, she locked in on Sophie and Sophie alone. That's the sequence. Nothing complicated, nothing controversial. Until the WNBA's rent-a-cop moment made it controversial. Now, ask yourself, why Sophie? Why not Caitlin? Why not Chloe? Why does the confrontation always seem to find her? This is where fans started connecting dots. Sophie's been targeted before, by opponents, by media narratives, even by the league itself. She's outspoken, she's fiery, and she doesn't fit neatly into the WNBA's carefully crafted image of who their stars should be. And when you don't fit the mold, you get treated differently. The guard didn't just enforce a rule, she created a spectacle. Sophie wasn't breaking protocol, but the confrontation turned her into the story. And that's why fans exploded. They weren't just defending Sophie, they were exposing what they saw as a double standard in plain sight. This wasn't about safety, it wasn't about rules, it was about optics. And for the WNBA, the optics couldn't have been worse. Here's where this whole thing gets messy, because the more you watch that clip, the more obvious the contradictions become. Sophie Cunningham is being policed, literally, for doing what every single bench player in basketball does. But here's the tension. Sophie Cunningham has been typecast as the WNBA's villain for years. She's fiery, she's unapologetic, she talks trash and doesn't care who hears it. And instead of embracing that as entertainment value, the kind of personality that drives headlines and rivalries in every other sport, the league often acts like it needs to suppress her. So what happens? A playoff win becomes a PR disaster. A moment of joy turns into a viral controversy. And fans don't forget. They connect this to every other instance where Sophie has been painted differently than her peers. When Angel Reese screams after a big play, she's called passionate. When Sophie does it, she's called entitled. When other players get in scuffles, it's competitiveness. When Sophie's involved, it's a problem. That double standard is the gasoline on this fire. And once fans saw it play out in real time, Sophie singled out while Caitlin and Chloe were untouched, the outrage exploded. This wasn't just a security guard overreacting. This was the WNBA once again exposing its own contradictions. To really understand why this moment blew up, you have to look at Sophie Cunningham's history in the WNBA, because this wasn't some random confrontation. It was another chapter in a pattern that's followed her for years. Sophie has never been the league-approved type of star. She's loud, confident, and absolutely fearless about speaking her mind. On the court, she plays with an edge, the kind of edge fans either love or love to hate. Off the court, she doesn't shy away from calling things how she sees them, even if it ruffles feathers. That combination makes her polarizing. And in the WNBA, polarization isn't always celebrated. Take the numbers. Sophie is consistently one of the most talked about players online. Her highlights pull clicks, her rivalries go viral, and even when she's injured, her presence boosts the Fever's profile. She moves the needle. And yet, when you look at league marketing, she's practically invisible compared to players with half her engagement. Why? Because she doesn't fit the narrative. She's not the smiling poster child. She's not the polished, media-trained darling. She's Sophie, raw, brash, authentic. And for some reason, the league seems allergic to that. So when a security guard leans in and tries to check Sophie in the middle of... This isn't just about Sophie Cunningham. This is about the WNBA's image, its credibility, and its ability to actually grow. Because make no mistake, moments like this don't just hurt Sophie, they hurt the league itself. Think about the audience right now. Millions of casual fans tuned into the WNBA this year because of Caitlin Clark's star power. These are people who might not have watched before, who are giving the league a chance for the very first time. What do they see? They see a playoff win overshadowed by a player in a leg brace being treated like a criminal for clapping. They see security theatrics instead of professionalism. They see drama instead of basketball. And perception is everything. You can't tell the world you're a league on the rise while your biggest playoff moment turns into a viral embarrassment. You can't claim you're growing the game while your own staff publicly undercuts your players. Fans aren't dumb. They see the double standards. They see how Sophie gets singled out while others are praised for the exact same behavior. And once they see it, they don't unsee it. The fallout was brutal. Hashtags like #FreeSophie and #WNBA exposed started trending. Fans ripped the league for hypocrisy. Comment sections were filled with people saying exactly what the WNBA doesn't want to hear. This league is a joke. And whether that's fair or not, that's the perception the WNBA keeps reinforcing every time it lets nonsense overshadow the basketball. Here's the bottom line. Players like Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark, and Angel Reese are driving attention to this league. They are the reason casual fans tune in. But if the league keeps picking favorites, punishing personalities, and manufacturing drama out of celebrations, those fans will walk away just as fast as they arrived. And that's the danger, because once they're gone, they don't come back. At the end of the day, this entire fiasco boils down to one simple truth. Sophie Cunningham's only crime was caring about her team. That's it. She was standing in a leg brace, clapping for her teammates during the Fever's biggest playoff moment in years. And somehow, that turned into a confrontation with a security guard and a viral controversy that overshadowed the win. And that's the real tragedy here. The Fever deserved to be the headline. Lexi Hull's clutch plays, Aaliyah Boston's dominant, and fans aren't letting it slide. They've flooded social media with outrage, they've called out the double standards, and they've reminded the league that Sophie isn't just another player. She's a star with one of the strongest fan bases in women's basketball. Every time she's targeted, her popularity grows. Every time the league tries to diminish her, her fans double down. If the WNBA were smart, they'd recognize that and lean in. But history tells us they probably won't. So here's the bottom line. Was this about rules, or was Sophie Cunningham targeted on purpose? You tell me. Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button if you're tired of the double standards, and make sure you subscribe, because we're not done holding this league accountable.